Knuckleheads, I'm Lupine Fiasco, and this is your daily FaB gameplay. For anyone who's new to the channel, welcome to the jungle. What we do here is review replays of games that I played on the Talishar client days or weeks ago, after enough time has passed that I lose my bias and can more objectively judge the quality of my play. I will talk through turn cycles and give my thoughts on the line I would take now compared to the line I took then at the time of recording. We either learn from my mistakes or reinforce good play patterns with the overall goal of tightening and optimizing our gameplay in the future to take down paper events and, most importantly, walk away with that shiny, shiny cardboard. If you'd like to check out the list I'm playing here or try it for yourself on Talishar, there is a FaB deck link in the video description below. While you're down there, if you have not already done so, please consider subscribing to my channel. A YouTube subscription is the best free way to support me and to make sure that you see daily FaB gameplay in your video feed 5 days a week. The best paid way to support me is through Patreon, and a Patreon link is also in the video description. A Patreon subscription will get you access to the DFG Discord. At higher tiers, your name will appear in every DFG video. You'll get bonus DFG content every week, and there are even more benefits coming down the pipeline. Daily FaB gameplay will always be free 5 days a week, so for those who can afford to patronize me, I truly appreciate it. Now, let's talk about our sideboard and about our game plan. Seeing that we won the die roll, we are going to choose to go second. This is not such a cut and dry decision. I think going second is best versus Boltyn, but letting Boltyn go first means that we are very likely taking some damage on turn 0, and we're letting Boltyn build up a soul. On the other hand, going second means that we get full tempo. We get to put basically our entire hand in front of his attacks on defense, assuming we don't draw any non-blocks, as we do get to draw up at the end of Boltyn's first turn. So it really is a nuanced decision. I think going second in an aggro matchup is always correct, but there is definitely some flexibility here. Based on your Boltyn experience, you could choose to go first, and I think that is totally defensible. Our sideboard plan for Boltyn is pretty straightforward. We are not going to change our standard equipment loadout at all. Boltyn does not deal arcane damage. We don't need to bring in Arcane Barrier or Spell Void. Beaten Trackers, I think, has good utility against Warrior. I have it in the list now to at least test it versus Hatchets. But against Boltyn, who is more commonly on Sabers or Raiden, I think Scabskins is fine. It's an extra 2 life in an aggro matchup, and that is just solid. My current sideboard plan has us boarding out Pack Hunt and boarding in Humble. Here we have boarded out Runner to board in Humble. I think either one is fine. The important thing is that we are getting Humble into the list. Humble does have very good utility against Boltyn. It shuts down his hero power such that blocking his attacks with attack action cards when he is charged does not give the additional power, but more importantly, he cannot give his attacks go again. This is very good against Raiden, and it is absolutely devastating against Saber's combo. It breaks Saber's combo. Saber's combo doesn't work if Boltyn doesn't have a hero power. We're expecting Boltyn to play Raiden into us, but on the off chance that he does play Saber's combo, Humble is 3 more pieces of combo disruption with Command and Conquer and Send Packing, and can be very, very strong. Cast Bones is sort of a toss-up in this list. We board it out in faster aggro matchups like Katsu or Dash.io. I don't think Boltyn is going to go that fast. That Cast Bones needs to come out, and playing a Cast Bones can be very strong against Boltyn. He's generally not presenting on hits. He's generally not going super wide or super tall. If he catches you with a Lumina or double Lumina turn, when you cast Bones. That's a little unfortunate, but you probably weren't pressuring him off of it anyway. So I think Cast Bones is good in this matchup. As far as game plan, we're just racing. As I said, Boltyn does not present a lot of on-hits or disruption, so generally you are not going to need to block to protect your arsenal. He's not going to get any additional value on his attacks, and he's pretty face-up as far as when a big turn is coming. Via the Vanguard and Lumina Ascension are Boltyn's strongest cards, but Via the Vanguard will need to charge additional light cards once it is played. You can get a very good sense of what the rest of Boltyn's turn looks like. And Lumina Ascension is an action. If Boltyn has Spirit of Irina on the field, then he can play it as an instant to trick you and get some extra damage in. But without Spirit, you're going to know about Lumina before the actual attacks start. As far as Flesh Bag timing, we'll look in the game, we'll talk about it. There isn't specifically anything that I would say, yes, this is what you're looking for, this is the sign of a good Flesh Bag. This is a matchup where you are either trying to read the Boltyn or you're just saying, I have a very strong turn coming up and I want to make sure that I don't die before I get to fire it off. But outside of that, this is a race. We are going to play the optimal offensive lines. And we'll jump into the game now and see what that looks like. We draw into kind of a weird blocking hand. Obviously, Wild Ride does not block, and we would like to avoid blocking Blood Rush Bellow. So we will see what Boltyn is going to make us block with, if anything. Here we have Beaming Bravado for 4. This could potentially have Go Again. We could also just take 4 damage. Neither of those things feels very good. So what I like doing here is blocking with Pound Town and Mighty Windup. That does leave us open to taking damage from Raiden. Boltyn will also get his Courage token. At the same time, we are blocking less efficiently and taking more damage from this Bravado than if we let the Raiden hit. And I really don't want to block with Blood Rush if I can avoid it. I am a big proponent of killing our darlings on turn 0, just blocking with anything that can block to avoid taking that damage, but Blood Rush is such a strong card, and in fact Boltyn does not go for the Go Again line, does not attack with Raiden, so we kind of get away with it here. What we aren't going to get away with is trying to set up a 5-card Blood Rush. Unfortunately, we don't have a play that lets us avoid a random discard. We were hoping to draw into a Swing Big or a Pack Hunt. Just something that would let us present damage without discarding from hand, but no such luck. So this is not the ideal Blood Rush turn. At the same time, we don't have an option to set up the ideal Blood Rush turn because we just don't want to take the chance. We would rather play Blood Rush than randomly discard it. So we are going to start with the Blood Rush. We will have 2 floating resources. We have 2 cards in hand with quote-unquote natural Go Again. What we draw into is kind of clunky. We could Claw Swing Big and give up our entire hand. We could Wild Ride, hope that we draw into a blue. The ideal turn here would be Wild Ride, draw into a blue, discard Pulping, Swing Big for 10. If we take the Claw Swing Big line, we are presenting 15 damage and not keeping an arsenal. If we Wild Ride and we don't find a blue to play Pulping or Swing Big, then we are presenting 13 damage between Wild Ride and Claw and not getting an arsenal. If I'm making this call now, I am going for the upside, which means I'm starting with Wild Ride and just hoping to draw into a blue or a yellow for Pulping or Swing Big. I think Claw Swing Big is totally defensible, but I do want to see if I can get a little more damage out of this turn. We do draw the blue, we do discard Swing Big, unfortunately. So now we have a new question, is are we going to claw Arsenal Pulping, or are we going to attack with Pulping? Considering that Boltyn didn't block the Wild Ride, it makes me think that he is interested in keeping these 5 cards. He even has a Quicken. That makes me want to push damage now while I have the opportunity to do so. I also don't know what my next turn is going to look like. If Boltyn is preparing to do something big and impressive, it makes me think that I might be blocking a lot, which means that I don't want to Arsenal a Pulping to set up. I want to get my damage now, and even just keep my Arsenal open in case my best line is block with 3 cards, Arsenal the 4th one. So let's play Pulping. I don't opt for that in this game. I think this is wrong. I think it's defensible, but I understand why I'm doing it. Just setting up a potential 5-card hand is strong, but I would have liked to get that Pulping out of the arsenal. I would have liked to play it. And I don't know that we necessarily get punished for it. We still have the option to block with 3 cards and then play this Cast Bones. Keeping the Pulping in arsenal means that we don't get punished for missing the agility on Cast Bones, because we will have an attack with Go Again. At the same time, it means that we potentially have an awkward hand here where, if we didn't have this Pulping in arsenal, that we could block with Beast Within, Agile Wind Up, play Cast Bones, Arsenal, E-Strike. But now we're in a weird spot where we can't just block with Beast Within, Agile Wind Up. We're either blocking with 1 card or 3 cards. Because if we block with 1 card, we still get to E-Strike, Go Again, play Cast Bones. If we block with 3 cards, we play Cast Bones. But if we block with Beast Within, Agile Wind Up, and play Cast Bones, we're taking an Intellect penalty. And if we block with Beast Within, E-Strike, on our turn discard Wind Up to make my agility, then we are not getting the full value of our Cast Bones, or we aren't getting the full value of our Wind Up. We're missing value somewhere. So I don't know that we necessarily got punished by arsenaling this Pulping, but it does put us in a weird position. So we will see what, if anything, we get to block with. Here we have a Bolt of Courage coming in for 2 with Go Again. Putting blocks in front of this to prevent the card draw does seem totally fine. I'm not really interested in overblocking to play around Beacon of Victory or Courageous Steel Hand, but putting Beast Within in front of this just to prevent the easy card draw seems totally fine to me, and we still have our E-Strike, Go Again, play Cast Bones line. What I choose to go for, and it pays off. Here we have a Raiden coming for 3. There is a Courage attached to this if it hits. That's fine. Without knowing what the last card in Boltyn's hand is, I'm more interested in keeping cards to block that, especially considering that we still have our E-Strike, Go Again, play Cast Bones line. I'm anticipating something like a Snatch or an Illuminate that I can just put 5 in front of and prevent the on-hit. Valiant Thrust for 8 is a lot of damage. It is not anything that I'm going to block. If we block with E-Strike, Agile Wind Up, then we are getting 5 value out of our 2 cards. If we instead attack with E-Strike with Go Again, we're getting 6 value out of our cards because we're using our Might token. So taking 8 here doesn't feel good, but it's totally fine. We have a good line of play if we just take this damage. We send 6 with Go Again. There really is not an alternate line of play here. This just is the best thing that we can do with our hand of cards. Boltyn gets a little value from charging, preventing a damage and making a courage token, but still taking some damage, and our cast bones does hit naturally. We know that the top cards of our deck are Humble and Blue Smash Instinct. So just keeping 5 cards and sending a bunch of damage feels really good. Our Pulping is going to hit the random discard. I'm signing up to take a lot of damage here, and in fact I may throw Flesh Bag just to make sure that we're not going to die here. We're at 29, Boltyn has a 2-card hand, but just to make sure that something really heinous doesn't happen this turn. Considering that we have a Send Packing as well, I think blocking with Flesh Bag here is fine. We will have Tunic available. We have a blue on top of our deck. Even if we end up with a hand that is Send Packing and 2 reds after we play a Pulping, we will have our Tunic. We can pitch a red, we can play Send Packing, and then Arsenal whatever the second red is. And we know that Boltyn will have a card in Arsenal to be threatened by Send Packing. So I think blocking with Flesh Bag and Scab Skins here is fine. We are signing up to take another 3 damage from the Raiden, but we are cracking back with a massive turn. Think about it. See if maybe I instead choose to Bone Breaker with a 3 block from hand. I don't love it just because I want to increase my chance of having this Send Packing. If we block with a red, we are holding on to our Flesh Bag, which is nice, but we are also putting ourselves in a much worse position to have a follow-up to the Pulping. Also, depending on whatever this card in Boltyn's hand is, we're taking extra damage. We are going to take this 3. We're going to get hit with a Raiden as well. I don't necessarily disagree with that block, but I do think a better block would have been to give the Flesh Bag. Here, I think the very obvious line is Pulping. That isn't what I'm going to choose to do. I honestly think this is a mistake. Even at the time, I thought this was wrong. I don't know why I did it. Just in my head, stripping Boltyn's hand was really good. At the same time, what else is really good is just hitting your opponent really hard until they die. Pulping there for 13 would have snuck potentially 10 damage through. And I think that's just a lot better than, swing big that doesn't matter. We have a Send Packing in Arsenal. We do not have Go Again in our hand, so I am trying to get more comfortable with rolling Scab Skins, and this is a perfect opportunity to do so. If we roll Scab Skins and we get a 1, our turn ends, but that's kind of okay because our turn is not very impressive anyway. We have 2 forms of Arsenal Disruption, and our opponent has no Arsenal. We have a Cast Bones, which is great, but we're taking a massive intellect penalty by playing it. And Humble is strong, but we have no way to augment the power of it, so Boltyn can just put 2 cards in front of it, play an attack, charge a card, and that's a fine turn cycle for him. So rolling Scab Skins here just seems good, right? If we get 2 action points, then we have a very strong turn lined up of probably Humble Cast Bones, and if we Humble, we even get to overpitch by pitching Command and Conquer, then Wrecker Romp, and then we get to play Cast Bones, and that's really good. So we'll roll Scabs, we'll see what happens. Rolling a 3 means we refund our action point, and now our best line of play is Humble. I would like to hold on to some Arsenal Disruption. I also think that this pitch was incorrect. For one thing, we did have a might and I didn't see that. So we do have a way to augment the Hummel, which is good. We now put Boltyn in a worse position. I think that keeping this cast bones was wrong because we are putting ourselves in another spot where drawing a wild ride or a pulping is actively uncomfortable for us because we'll have to overpitch to get the cast bones out of our hand to reduce our chance of missing, or we wind up in this same spot where we only have one action point for a turn and cast bones is just kind of weird. So I would have liked to pitch the cast bones instead of the CNC, possibly in addition to the CNC, and keep a blue to make sure that we absolutely can play our send packing if we need to. Cast bones here is going to end up being clunky. And especially so here, where now we have two of them. We don't have a blue, so if we pitch our agile or discard our agile windup, a great line on our turn would have been discard agile windup at the end of Boltyn's turn, pitch the blue that we would have had in hand, the blue Wrecker Romp that we instead pitched, instead of this cast bones, play Bare Fangs. Bare Fangs gets go again, and there's a 50% chance that we get to follow it up with a cast bones. And if we instead discard the cast bones, we can still pitch a card, come in with Claw, or pitch a blue, come in with Send Packing, something like that. Instead, we're now in a very weird position where our best line of play is probably take 4 here, discard Agile Windup on our turn to get our might and agility, then play Bare Fangs by pitching 2 cast bones, which is just weird. It's just a weird thing to have to do. And I think it's a little awkward. I think it's kind of uncomfortable. Our other line would be to block the Express Lightning with a cast bones, take 1. On our turn, pitch Agile Windup and probably Bare Fangs to send packing out of Arsenal, then Arsenal a Cast Bones. Cast Bones in Arsenal feels a lot better than Cast Bones in hand because our Wild Rides and Pulpings don't have the opportunity to discard it. That's probably what I would do here. It is, in my head, the best bad play. We put ourselves into this bad position by keeping this Cast Bones instead of a blue. So at this point, I think that is going to be the best way to salvage it, is just block Express Lightning for 3, send packing to at least force some kind of action out of Boltyn. He either loses the Arsenal or gives us cards to block it. And then we get to Arsenal Cast Bones. Now at this point, the situation changes where we can let this snatch hit and Boltyn draws a card and then we have something to attack with our send packing. Or we could just block this and Boltyn doesn't get an Arsenal and we keep our send packing in Arsenal. So we're going to make the uncomfortable decision to block with second Cast Bones and Bone Breaker. We lose our point of value from not getting a might token, but we keep our Scab Skins and we at least get to do something on our turn. If we were going to block with something like Agile Windup, Scab Skins, then our turn is not very good. This is fine. We do hit off the top. Bare Fangs comes in for 8. We make a might token, which is great. And see if we can get some kind of reaction out of Boltyn. Getting 5 damage is fine. We keep an Arsenal and we draw into what is kind of an okay hand here. Bolt of Courage for 3 is going to present an awkward situation where we can block with a blue and a Scab Skin. Probably block with the Pack Hunt on the next attack, maybe Raiden, maybe whatever this card in Boltyn's hand is. we play Send Packing from Arsenal and then Arsenal Blood Rush Bellow. I don't agree with blocking with Fleshbag here. I really don't agree with this. I'm setting up this Blood Rush Bellow, but I don't have Go Again. And really, if Blood Rush is getting 4 value out of being played, yeah, that's fine. 1 for 4 is okay. But we really want 1 for 6. We really want to have agility or a wild ride or a pulping, something to go with this. And now we just don't. And we're gonna claw for 6, and then we're gonna smash Instinct. Send Packing, and we get to put a card in our arsenal, so it's like a fine turn. But this is what we gave up Fleshbag for, and that's bad. That is a bad thing to have done. Sending Send Packing for 7 here is like just okay. It's a good thing to be doing. And then we still have our Blood Rush. So we're gonna make something out of this turn, but I think this was just wrong. This was just a bad thing to have done. We got some blocks out of Boltyn. We are going to Arsenal a Humble. Great card to have in the arsenal. We know that a Snatch is coming at us. How are we going to block this Snatch? We are going to block with a blue at a Humble. On our turn, we are going to attack with a Humble from Arsenal, and Enlightened Strike, so that we will have a way to get an additional chain link on some turn in the future. This is terrible. I don't know why I did this. I don't know why I did this either. Very weird. Humble for 7 is good, but I would much rather have an E-Strike in my arsenal than a Humble. So that was definitely a misplay on my part. Yikes. Humble hits. Boltyn is going to take some damage, and we'll see what he's got cooking with 3 cards. Notably, we have not seen Illumina. Just looking at a Take Flight plus a Raiden, do we want to take 8 and let Boltyn make a Courage? Our hand is looking pretty good. We have a Wild Ride, we have a blue to pay for it, we even have our Tunic. So ideally, we are discarding this Send Packing, drawing a new card to bottom to E-Strike, and then we get to play Humble, which tells me that we are not blocking at all. We're going to take 8 from Boltyn. We're going to let him get his new Courage. And, yeah, we're doing okay. Boltyn ties up the life total, but we have full tempo going into this next turn, and we even potentially get to disrupt. Instead, hopefully we keep the E-Strike this time. Claw, Humble, Arsenal E-Strike, still have our Tunic. Sounds really, really good to me. We strip Boltyn's hand, we push 3 damage with the Claw, and we are setting up for a 5-card hand that will have some form of Go Again. Do we want to discard Agile Windup at the end of Boltyn's turn? That lets us push 15, potentially more, but in this situation, I would want to E-Strike for 7 with Go Again, then Swing Big for 8. If we instead just pass to the end of the turn, we pitch Beast Within, we Claw for 4, we discard Windup to make my agility, give the Claw Go Again, and then probably E-Strike for 7 and Arsenal a Swing Big. To take advantage of the agility, we could play the Swing Big and then keep E-Strike, draw a card. In either case, I don't think that discarding the Windup now is correct. I think we miss out on some damage. We are still going to get Boltyn to block, and we are setting up for a much stronger next turn. Boltyn goes down to 4. There really is not a functional difference between 7 and 8 damage on this turn. In either case, we are getting 1 card from Boltyn's hand. If we send 7, Boltyn gives us a card from hand and a piece of equipment. If we send 8, Boltyn gives us a card from hand and 2 pieces of equipment. So because we cannot take 2 cards from Boltyn's hand, we are going to send 7 instead of 8. Swing Big, also just a much better card to have in the arsenal, especially when we have Spring Tunic available. All we need to have a very strong turn is a single blue, which will let us claw for 4 with Go Again, then use our Tunic to Swing Big. Looking at Celestial Cataclysm for 8, do we want to block with this hand? The answer is probably no, because what we can do is play Command and Conquer, pitch a blue, we float a resource, we then pitch a second blue to attack with Mandible Claw, then we discard a wind-up to give the Claw Go Again, and come in with Swing Big. So we are presenting 18 damage with Disruption. We take Boltyn's entire hand, equipment, and very likely win the game. So I'm fine to take the 8 here, go down to 3, and then we can adapt. Boltyn has no way to kill us as a reaction. Boltyn only has 2 cards in Soul. So Beacon of Victory only takes us to 1. Boltyn hasn't charged this turn, so there is no Courageous Steel hand line. Boltyn doesn't have a floating resource, so there's no Razor Reflex. Going to 3 here, I don't think can punish us. Here, again, we're asking ourselves the same questions. Is there any single card from Boltyn's hand that kills us? And I think the answer is no. So I don't think this block matters. I'm taking it because I still have the Command and Conquer Swing Big line, which is 15 damage. But I think we did just get baited into a block, because I think at the same time Boltyn could not kill us. Boltyn did not have a way to kill us with that 1 card in hand and a Raiden for 0. If you know of a way, if you can correct me in the comments, let me know what I might have been missing. But with only 2 cards in Soul, no resources floating, and having not charged, I don't think there's a way for Boltyn to kill us there. But we do pick up the win. We had great value per turn. I think we definitely made a few pretty critical misplays that didn't cost us the game, but could have cost us a different game in the future. Pulping with the Cast Bones was absolutely the right line, not Swing Big. Yeah, we stripped Boltyn's hand, but okay. I would have rather gotten 10 points of damage and left Boltyn with what seemed to have been a bit of a clunker of a hand. Not prioritizing putting E-Strike in Arsenal was a mistake. Not prioritizing getting Go Again before we fired off that Blood Rush was a mistake. This game was played recently, so I am a little more embarrassed about making these mistakes than I would be had I played it a few weeks ago when I had a worse understanding of Kayo, but definitely reinforced some lessons that I should have already had about playing Kayo, and hopefully you learned something as well. So if you did, and if you liked this video, be sure to assault and batter that like button. My comments are always open for any questions or feedback. Again, if you have not already done so, please consider a YouTube subscription. It's free, it helps me out, but no matter what you do, catch me back here tomorrow for more daily FaB gameplay. And until then, take care.